Specialists. Stanbic Investment Management Services is licensed by the Securities and Exchange Commission and registered with the National Pensions Regulatory Authority. Stanbic Investment Management Services. Stanbic Bank. It can be.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have the pleasure of welcoming you to the 13th Annual General Meeting of the Stanbic Cash Trust, which I now declare open. I now call upon the Secretary, Mrs. A.C. Korama Amoa, to read the notice of the meeting.
Notice is hereby given that the 13th Annual General Meeting of the unit holders of Stanbic Cash Trust, the fund, will be held virtually on Friday, June 19, 2026 at 10 a.m. and shall be streamed live to all unit holders from Stanbic Business Incubator, Silver Star Tower, Airport City, Accra, for the transaction of the following business. 1. To receive the reports of the manager of the fund for the year ended December 31st, 2025. 2. To consider the trustees' report and the report of auditors for the year ended December 31st, 2025. 3. To receive and adopt the audited financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2025. 4. To appoint UHY Voscon Chartered Accountants as external auditors to replace Baker Tilly under in accordance with the Companies Act 2019, Act 992. To authorize the manager to fix the remuneration of the auditors, dated May 25th, 2026, by order of the manager, Stanbic Investment Management Services Limited, on behalf of the trustee, Universal Merchant Bank Limited. Attendance and participation by all unit holders and or their proxies in this year's AGM of the fund shall be strictly virtual, that is, by online participation. Accessing and voting at the virtual AGM. A unique token number will be sent to unit holders by email and or SMS from Monday, June 1st, 2026 to give them access to the meeting. Unit holders who do not receive this token can contact the UMB on trust@merbancapital.com or call 0302 686 218 or 055 287 6830 anytime after Monday, June 1st, 2026, but before the date of the AGM to be sent the unique token. To gain access to the virtual AGM, unit holders must visit https://samescisagm.com and input their unique token number on Friday, June 19, 2026. For unit holders who do not submit proxy forms to the trustee of the fund prior to the meeting, they may vote electronically during the virtual AGM, again using their unique token number. Further assistance on accessing the meeting and voting electronically can be found on https://samescisagm.com. For further information, please contact the trustee, Universal Merchant Bank Limited. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Amoa. The first item on the agenda is to receive the report of the fund manager for the year ended December 31, 2025. I call upon Ms. Satisaki to read the report of the fund manager to unit holders.
Thank you and good morning to everyone joining in. So I'll be sharing a highlight of the fund manager's report, which you can find on pages 6 to 8 of the annual report. Before going into the fund's performance, I will touch briefly on the economic environment in 2025 and the market conditions that shaped the fund's performance. So in 2025, the global economy remained quite resilient, although we did see growth slowing down slightly to 3.1% from 3.2% in 2024. And this was mainly due to tighter financial conditions, higher interest rates, and also the geopolitical and trade uncertainties, all of which affected investment and consumer spending. We also saw global inflation declining from about 5.8% in 2024 to 4.2% in 2025, largely because supply conditions had improved and the earlier policy measures to contain inflation had also taken effect. That said, it wasn't the case everywhere. In a number of advanced economies, we did see some struggle with inflation being persistent, especially in the labor markets and also the services sectors. Now, bringing it closer to home, Ghana's economy saw quite a strong turnaround in 2025. Growth came in around 6%, which is the highest we've seen since 2019. And that was largely driven by stronger earnings from our gold exports and also a recovery in consumption. We also experienced one of the fastest disinflationary periods, ending the year at 5.4% and creating room for the central bank to be able to drive growth more significantly by dropping the monetary policy rate by a total of 1,000 basis points, ending the year at 18%. On the currency side, the cedi had quite a historic year, recording a 40% appreciation against the dollar, which was quite significant given that it was the first year of appreciation since the 2007 redenomination. The performance was supported by improved fiscal discipline and the success of the Gold for Reserves program, which helped boost our international reserves. Now, all of the recovery was experienced also in the financial markets. The Ghana Stock Exchange had a very good year, with the composite index rising by almost 80%, which was the highest in about 20 years. And overall market cap also increased by about 50%, exceeding 170 billion cedis. On the fixed income side, which is particularly relevant for this fund, if you recall at the end of 2024, interest rates were quite elevated around 30%. But over the course of 2025, we did see rates falling quite sharply, with the 182-day, 91-day, 364-day ranging between 11 to 13%, whilst yields on the bond market were hovering around 15%, which meant cheaper borrowing for the government, but also existing bondholders were able to take advantage of some capital gains on their bonds in addition to their interest. So as expected, the journey of Stanbic Cash Trust in 2025 reflected these developments. The fund saw significant growth over the year, with total assets increasing by 114% to approximately 1.7 billion cedis. 74% of the fund was invested in money market securities, including treasury bills and fixed deposits, whilst 15% was in Government of Ghana bonds on the main class, and the remaining 11% in cash for liquidity management. In terms of returns, the main class recorded a return of 33.2% compared to a benchmark of 19.8%, which reflects the interest rate decline, which led to some valuation gains on the Government of Ghana holdings, which were held by the main class. In terms of the AMC subclass, which was solely invested in fixed deposits, the fund recorded a return of 16.6% for the year. Now, looking into this year, 2026 and beyond, the outlook for Ghana is still fairly positive, although we expect some more measured pace in terms of growth as we enter a more stable phase compared to the strong recovery last year. A key development has been the reopening of the domestic bond market, where we saw the government being able to borrow over a longer tenor, reducing their reliance on the short-term treasury bills. Inflation is expected to remain relatively contained, while interest rates are also likely to stay around the current levels. On the currency side, after the strong appreciation in 2025, we expect the cedi to remain relatively stable, with room for some level of contained depreciation for this year. Overall, the environment is expected to remain supportive, but with a shift from the strong recovery to some more stability this year. So going back to the objective of Stanbic Cash Trust, which is capital preservation, liquidity, and also achieving some decent returns on the markets through money market securities. Now, Cash Trust has two classes running within the fund, the main class and the subclass. The main class had holdings that were subject to the domestic debt exchange, which meant the fund now held bonds which were longer dated and not very much aligned with the fund's objective. And so, at the time, new deposits into the Stanbic Cash Trust were rerouted to the AMC class only. Now, as I mentioned earlier, interest rates have been on the decline, and so we've been able to take opportunity to exit the holdings on the main fund, which were in the DDEP bonds, and we've been able to rebalance into money market securities in line with the fund, which we did earlier this year. And so based on that, the main class was reopened to deposits on the 24th of March 2026. Now, while the main class, which we refer to as the SCT, and the subclass, which we refer to as SCT AMC, will both continue to run as money market solutions, they are still structured slightly differently for different investor needs. So SCT provides a wider range of exposures in the money market space. The fund can invest in treasury bills, fixed deposits, and other short-term securities like commercial papers. And given the nature of these investments, especially on the treasury bills, which are tradable, the portfolio is currently being valued on a mark-to-market basis. And what this means is that the fund can experience some adverse price movements, but can also have the potential to benefit from capital gains in declining interest rate environments. On the other hand, the SCT AMC remains invested only in fixed deposits, which means it's more stable and probably has a more predictable return profile. So overall, the structure is to allow the fund to cater to investor preferences, which vary, but all within the money market space. To wrap up, I would also like to inform investors that effective 2nd June 2026, which is just about 2 weeks ago, the manager of the fund, SIMS, and the trustee, UMB, have revised the management and trustee fees following the introduction of VAT and the SEC levy on the collective investment schemes. So this decision was basically made to minimize the impact of these new costs that will be incurred by the fund in order to cushion the impact on investors' returns. So the fund manager's fee has moved from 2.25% to 2%, and the trustee fee has moved from 0.48% to 0.25%. So these charges will reflect in our reporting going forward. Once again, we appreciate your time, and thank you for joining in today.
Thank you, Ms. Saki, for that comprehensive report. The next item on the agenda is to consider the trustees' report. I now call upon Mr. Bernard Anumel to read the trustees' report for the year ended December 31, 2025.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm Bernard Anumel, representing Universal Merchant Bank as trustees for Stanbic Cash Trust Fund. And unit holders, I present to you the report of trustees for the fund. In our opinion, according to the information made available to us and the explanations provided, we confirm that in all material respects, the manager has managed the scheme during the period covered by this financial statement in accordance with the trust deed dated 6th November 2011, as amended on 21st May 2025, and all regulations for the time being in force under the Securities Industry Act 2016, Act 929, as amended in Securities Industry Amendment Act 2021, Act 1062, and the Unit Trust and Mutual Funds Regulations 2001, LI 1695. Madam Chair, respectfully submitted. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Numil. I now ask the representative of the auditors, Baker Tilly Under and Under, in the person of Ms. Ruth Avonyo, to read their report.
Good morning, and thank you for this opportunity. I'll go ahead and read the report of the auditor. Opinion. We have audited the financial statement of Stanbic Cash Trust, which comprise the statement of assets and liabilities as at 31st December 2025, income and distribution account, portfolio statement, and capital account for the year ended, and notes forming part of the financial statement, which include a summary of significant accounting policies, and other explanatory notes as set out on pages 21 to 27. In our opinion, the accompanying financial statements present fairly, in all material respects, the financial position of the fund as at 31st December 2025 and its financial performance and its cash flows for the year ended in accordance with the IFRS accounting standards and in the manner required by the Securities Industry Act 2016, Act 929 as amended in the Securities Industry Amendment Act 2021, Act 1062. The Unit Trust and Mutual Funds Regulation 2001, LI 1695, and the Trust Deed dated 6th November 2011, as amended on 21st May 2025. Basis for our opinion: we conducted our audits in accordance with the international standards on auditing. Our responsibilities under those standards are further described in the auditor's responsibilities for the audit of the financial statements section of our report. We are independent of the fund in accordance with the International Code of Ethics for the professional accountants, including international independent standards. The code issued by the International Ethics Standard Board for Accountants, and we have fulfilled our other ethical responsibilities in accordance with the code. We believe that the audit evidence we have obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our opinion. Key audit matters. Key audit matters are those matters that, in our professional judgment, were of most significance in our audit of the financial statement of the current period. They are matters to be addressed in the context of our audit of the financial statement as a whole, informing our opinion thereon. We do not provide a separate opinion on those matters. There were no material key audit matters to report on. Other information. The manager is responsible for other information. The other information comprises the information included in the annual report, but does not include the financial statements and our auditor's report thereon. Our opinion on the financial statement does not cover the other information, and we do not express any form of assurance conclusion thereon. In connection with our audit of the financial statement, our responsibility is to read the other information, and in doing so, consider whether the other information is materially inconsistent with the financial statements or our knowledge obtained in the audit or otherwise appears to be materially misstated. If, based on the work that we have performed, we conclude that there is a material misstatement of this other information, then we are required to report that fact. We have nothing to report in that regard. Report on other legal and regulatory requirements. Compliance with the requirements of Part 9 of Schedule 8 of the Unit Trust and Mutual Fund Regulation 2001, LI 1695, we confirm that we have obtained all the information and explanations which, to the best of our knowledge and belief, were necessary for the purpose of the audit. In our opinion, proper books have been kept by the fund so far as appears from the examination of those books. The fund's financial statements are in agreement with the accounting records and returns. In our opinion, the fund generally complied with the relevant provisions of the Securities Industry Act 2016, Act 929, as amended in Security Industry Amendment Act 2021, Act 1062. The engagement partner of the audit resulting in this independent auditor's report is Samuel Abiao. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Avonyo. I now call on Ms. Paulina Okai, to present the highlights of the audited financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2025.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I will speak to the financial performance of the Cash Trust for the year ended 2025. When we turn to page 15 of the financials, we can note total assets increased from 708 million in 2024 to 1.6 billion in 2025. That's over 100% increase year on year. The increase was really driven by two main components. The first having to be the investment gains on the assets that we have invested into. And secondly was the net capital inflows, which was a result of high levels of investor subscriptions within the year, mainly on the Cash Trust AMC subclass, which, as the fund manager earlier mentioned, was heavily invested in money market instruments as per its mandate. The Cash Trust AMC and the main fund recorded closing values of 1.37 billion and 289 million respectively in 2025, compared to prior closing balances of 518 million for the AMC and 261 million for the main fund, meaning AMC almost tripled year on year, whilst the Cash Trust main declined marginally by about 28 million. On the back of that growth, the fund recorded increased allocations into the money market instruments, increasing its allocation from 52% as it was in 2024 to 73% in 2025, and this in turn caused a decrease in Government of Ghana holdings, dropping from a 26% in 2024 to 16%. The level of investor activities during the year was particularly strong, as I earlier mentioned, and this can be seen on page 19 of the financials and depicted by the bar chart being represented on the slide. The new subscriptions for the year came in at 1.8 billion, whilst we had redemptions being processed coming to a total of 1.14 billion. This contributed a net of approximately 672 million, which added up to our total assets. On our earnings side, as is seen on page 16 of the financials, the fund recorded exceptional growth in income and profitability. Total income increased from 125 million in 2024 to 241 in 2025, effectively almost doubling year on year. The increase in our subscriptions, as I mentioned earlier, enabled the fund to increase its investments and placement activities during the year, and this contributed largely to the higher interest income that we recorded. Additionally, we also had positive mark-to-market gains for the year, which further boosted our performance. Despite the increase in our income, expenses was well managed, increasing from a 15.9 million to 31.2 million, which is reflective of the asset growth. As a result of this performance, the fund generated net investment gains of 210 million compared to 108 million in 2024. So in summary, for 2025, the fund delivered value for its clients or unit holders while still maintaining its core principles of liquidity, capital preservation, and stable returns. This will be the end of my submission, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Okai. The next item on the agenda is a consideration of the fund manager's report for adoption. I now call on the Secretary, Mrs. Amoah, to take us through the comment and voting process on the motions put forward.
Steps to comment or ask questions. To second a motion, send a comment or question. Kindly locate the chat box at the right or bottom side of your screen. Type and submit your comments and questions. How to cast your vote. We have provided 2 options to enable you to participate in the voting exercise in real time. To vote via the online platform, kindly locate the vote box on the bottom of your broadcast screen and follow these steps. 1. Enter the unique token number used to join the meeting. 2. Click Cast Your Vote. 3. Once you have done this, you will see a list of resolutions to be voted for. 4. Follow the voting process by clicking the plus sign, then select your voting option. To vote via the short code, dial *899*0# on your phone. Enter the unique code used in joining the meeting. Once you have done this, you can now select your vote option and send. Note, you cannot vote once the chairperson closes the vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Omoa. I hereby move that the Fund Manager's report for the year ended December 31st, 2025, submitted to the meeting be and is hereby received and adopted. Would someone please second the motion? To second, kindly go to the chat box, type your full name, and type seconded.
Madam Chair, Ms. Patricia Afun seconds the motion.
Motion seconded. Are there any questions before the motion is put to the meeting?
Madam Chair, there are no questions in the chat box.
I now open the online platform for voting on the motion to adopt the Fund Manager's report for the year ending 2025. 30 seconds for voting to end. Voting is now closed. Thank you.
At the end of voting, 16 members voted for the motion. No one voted against the motion, and no one abstained from the motion.
I declare that the motion has been duly carried. The next item on the agenda is the consideration of the trustees' report and the report of the auditors for the year ended December 31st, 2025. I hereby move that the trustees' report and the report of the auditors for the year ended 2025 and submitted to the meeting be and are hereby received and adopted. Would someone please second this motion?
Madam Chair, Mr. Isaac Achrefi Mensah seconded the motion.
Motion seconded. Are there any questions before the motion is put to the meeting?
Yes, Madam Chair. We have one question from Daniel Francis Della. His question is, what is the outlook for the AMC fund going forward?
Thank you. Ms. Saki will take this.
Thank you for the question. So for the AMC class, we will continue to invest in the fixed deposits solely with banks and non-banks. And in terms of performance, what we are expecting is, as we've seen some recent slight increments in the treasury bill rates, we expect that to trickle into the fixed deposit space as well. And so we are hoping that we would be able to get some new inflows, which we can reinvest into the current fixed deposit rates as they inch up. So that's the outlook for the fund.
Thank you, Ms. Saki. I now open the online platform for voting on the motion to adopt the trustees' report and the report of the auditors for the year ended December 31st, 2025. voting is closed. Thank you.
Madam Chair, at the end of voting, 27 persons voted for the motion. No one voted against the motion. No one abstained from the motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Amwa. I declare that the motion has been duly carried. The next item on the agenda is to receive and adopt the audited financial statement for the year ended December 31st, 2025. I hereby move that the audited financial statement for the year ended December 31, 2025, and submitted to the meeting be and are hereby received and adopted. Would someone please second this motion?
Madam Chair, Ms. Yvonne Yamwa seconds the motion.
Motion seconded. Are there any questions before the motion is put to the meeting?
Madam Chair, there are no questions in the chat box.
I now open the online platform for voting on the motion to adopt the audited financial statement for the year ended 2025. Voting is closed. Thank you.
Madam Chair, at the end of the voting, 22 people voted for the motion. No one voted against the motion, and one person abstained from the motion.
I declare that the motion has been duly carried. The next item on the agenda is to appoint UHY Voscon Chartered Accountants as external auditors to replace Baker Tilly under and under in accordance with the Companies Act 2019, Act 922. I hereby move that UHY Voscon Chartered Accountants be appointed as external auditors to replace Baker Tilly under and under in accordance of the Act. Would someone please second this motion?
Madam Chair, Ms. Eugenia Nakai Lumo seconds the motion.
Motion seconded. Are there any questions before this motion is put to the meeting?
Madam Chair, Mr. Samuel Danso Ahinkra is asking why we are changing the auditors.
Thank you. Ms. Okain will take this.
So, per the company's code, an auditor is supposed to audit for not longer than 6 years tenure. This is to avoid familiarity between the fund managers or the company and the auditors. Baker Tilly has served the 6-year tenure, which ends today after the AGM. And so in line with regulations, in line with best practice, we would have to change the auditor. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Okai. Are there any other questions?
Madam Chair, Mr. Benjamin Ode Asante asked the same question Mr. Samuel Danso asked, and Ms. Paulina has answered accordingly.
Thank you. I now open the online platform for voting on the motion to appoint UHY Voscon Chartered Accountants as external auditors to replace Baker Tilly under and under in accordance with the Companies Act 2019, Act 922. Voting is closed. Thank you.
Madam Chair, at the end of voting, 22 people voted for the motion. No one voted against the motion, and no one abstained from the motion.
I declare that the motion has been duly carried. The next item on the agenda is to authorize the manager to fix the remuneration of the auditors. I hereby move that the manager be and is hereby authorized to fix the remuneration of the auditor for the year ending December 31, 2026. Would someone please second this motion?
Madam Chairman, Mr. Smith Dumenyo, in trust for Lady Ariel Nanama Biamakisi, seconds the motion.
Motion seconded. Are there any questions before the motion is put to the meeting?
Madam Chairman, there are no questions in the chat box.
I now open the online platform for voting on the motion to authorize the manager to fix the remuneration of the auditors for the year ending December 31, 2026. Voting is closed. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, at the end of voting, 21 people voted for the motion, no one voted against the motion, and no one abstained from the motion.
I declare that the motion has been duly carried. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Sims, the manager for the Stanbic Cash Trust, I would like to thank you for the continued interest in the fund's affairs and for attending this meeting. I hereby declare the meeting formally closed. Thank you.
I found a new job and it's doing very well. And all I'm doing is saving to build a house.
You don't save to build a house. You invest to build a house. That is why I want to take you to my financial advisors. They are thorough.
From markets and currencies to people and politics, everything today affects investment outcomes. If you cannot make the connection, you cannot make the money. We are one of Africa's and Ghana's largest fund managers. Stanbic Investment Management Services